Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. Today we're going to go into a deep journey. Let me explain to you what I mean by a deep journey. Have you ever met or known someone that was in a situation that someone controlled their every movement, manipulated their way in thinking, undermined their ability to say that they can or cannot become something? The list goes on. Today on the show, we have a young lady that's going to take us down her journey of these same incidents that has happened in her life, and more importantly, how she took those challenges and those stumbling blocks and jumped over these hurdles in that beast frame of mind to overcome these challenges to restore and regain her life and her self-worth. I'd like to welcome to the show Miss Staci Wells. Welcome to the show, Staci.
Oh, thank you, Andre. Happy to be here.
Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate you taking the time to come and share your story. We talked a little bit yesterday and a little bit today about your journey and truly an impactful story. Before we get into the deep part of that road that you went down and overcome, tell the viewers a little bit about Staci Wells.
Well, I was born in Wabash, Indiana, but shortly after my parents moved us here to Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been here pretty much my entire life. Mm-hmm. My dad was a pharmacist. My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Wait a minute. A pharmacist for what? We just talked about this. What's that name?
My dad was a pharmacist with Hook Drugs.
The green and white.
Yes.
Okay. Keep going.
And so my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and basically my entire life, my mom kind of controlled my every move.
What do you mean, control your every move?
So, would tell me like examples of, like I couldn't wear makeup when I was in high school, even though, my friends and everybody, my classmates were wearing makeup. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I, wasn't allowed to go on dates. I wasn't allowed to have friends over. I wasn't allowed, there were a lot of things that, my mom had certain rules to. Another example, way before high school, when I would go to stay with relatives like grandparents or my aunt or something, my mom would send this list of rules of what I could and couldn't have while I was staying there, what I could and couldn't do. And that kind of just carried out through my entire years all the way through high school.
What was your mom and your dad's lifestyle like? Because that sounds a little military, when you say that. What was their life like?
As to the best of my knowledge, like no one was in the military. Mm-hmm. I know that my dad's side of the family, it was a World War II, like in World War II, my grandfather served in the medical unit, mm-hmm. but was never really like in the military, just helped out in that way. And my dad was very young at that time. Mm-hmm. But I also believe through my relationship with my aunt that mentality kind of stemmed over from their mother. And so my mom's mother was very much that way as well.
Did you know anything about your grandmother?
Not really. A lot of this I hadn't found out until I'd gotten much older, mm-hmm. And kind of learned like how those types of relationships work and how, we keep all that behind closed doors. Nobody talks about it. Nobody addresses it. That's the way it is. And to me, that was my norm. Like that was what I knew.
When you went to your grandmother's, your mother's mother, that was the control individual, did you see those signs in your grandmother or your grandfather?
It's hard to say because when I was younger, I didn't understand all this like I do now.
You just thought it was the norm.
Right. I thought it was the norm, but my grandmother acted like my mother did. And so to me, that was normal.
Okay, I got you. What about your dad? Did you have a close relationship with your dad?
Yeah, no, I had a very tight relationship with my dad. I was kind of like a daddy's girl. However, my dad worked so much that I don't think he always saw, or if he did see what my mother did, it was turn a blind eye to it and not pay attention and, just continue to work all the time.
Was other siblings affected that you know about?
I just have one brother, and my brother actually sees the home situation completely different. His reality is completely different from my reality.
What do you mean by that when you say his reality?
So in my brother's eyes, like, my mom was kind of like an idol to him.
I got you.
And there was definitely things that I knew when I was younger of how my brother was treated much differently than I was.
How did that make you feel growing up? As you got older and growing up, I mean, by the time you got in high school, you had to see something.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes there was a little bit of resentment there. And it was more like high school and college where I really noticed like a lot of difference in the way that my brother was treated versus the way
Give me
I
an
was
example.
treated.
Give the viewers an example, and so they can understand. Because when you use the word resentment, a lot of people might say, "Well, I would never." Well, you're not in that situation. So,
No. And
right.
I didn't mean to say I resented my brother, just resented the situation. But like in high school, they bought him a car to drive. I was just given the family car that I could use whenever I had permission to use the car.
Right.
When we got in, of course, my brother's 3 years younger than me, but I was always told that I was not allowed to join a sorority, that I had to get in and out of college in 4 years because my brother was coming up next. But yet, my brother he joined a fraternity. He, didn't have the class load that I did because he didn't have those restrictions that you've got to be out in 4 years. And
That's a pretty tight restriction.
Yeah.
Were your mom and dad college grads?
my father was, yes, because since he's a pharmacist.
So he was really big on you guys' education. Were you guys
Definitely.
Were you guys well off financially?
I don't know. Money was something that we never discussed. Like, there were topics that were off limits that you couldn't discuss. Money was one of them. Religion, politics, none of those were topics that we ever discussed as a
Why
family.
do you think that was?
I'm not really sure. Here again, it could be another way of keeping me from learning about other options that are available.
So you wind up going to school. When did you start realizing that the world is different, your situation is different? Or did these situations carry over into from high school to college? Because eventually you're leaving the nest.
Right. No, the situations continued to carry over. And one of the things in college, I always struggled with my roommates, and I could never understand why. And now as I get older and I start to learn
Please
things.
tell me why.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is why I never got along with my roommates. It had nothing to do with, anything other than I had one way of being, and I thought everybody was like me.
Give me an example. Give them an example. You're in college and you can't get along with roommates. And now you're getting a bad reputation around the campus as well. You know what I'm saying? So give me an example. If you can remember a time how many roommates did you get rid of?
Oh my gosh, probably, I think I had 6.
Jesus.
I know, that's not, now that I look back on it, I'm like,
You don't make any trips back to your college campus anymore, do you?
I feel bad for my roommates because I'm like, especially now because I am not that same person anymore. And
What were you like? Give me an example. What were you like?
I was very quiet.
Okay.
I didn't have a lot of depth in my conversations because I didn't know a lot of things.
You were simple yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I always carried a heavy class load, so I was always studying all the time.
Well, how would your quietness and your class load and you're really not engaging?
Yeah.
How does that make them upset? And
Well, because I would, if they wanted to bring friends over, I didn't want people in my dorm room.
okay.
You
wanted solitary.
Right. And I didn't want other people's noise. I didn't want other people's stuff in my space, and I know now that no, there's a compromise here and we don't need to behave that way. But at the time I had no idea. Like,
what was it like relationship wise? Now you're in college, you're a woman, basically, a
Right.
young woman. So how did that go into your relationship? Because here it is, you're definitely not mixing in with the crowd. So this is when that labelization starts to take place. Oh, don't hang out with her because she's stuck up or she's this or she's that. But then you still get into a relationship. How does that carry in?
So one of the things that, I look back on now, if a guy was nice to me, I broke up with him because, well, that's not the way I'm supposed to be treated.
How many guys did you break up with in college?
I'm not even sure. But, it was like if they weren't telling me what to do and basically controlling where I was going, I thought they were nice and I didn't want to be a part of it.
So you was more attracted to control and order.
Very much so.
People will find that hard to believe, but I guess it makes sense that that's what you consider the norm.
Yes.
So then what happens?
So then eventually I ended up getting married to someone who treated me just like my mother did. And it went back to living in
Wait a minute. You wind up marrying or dating somebody that was just like your mom.
Right.
Not like your father.
No, like my mother.
Like your mom. I just got to ask this. What was the first date? Come on, we get in the car right now. You're going to... what was his come on line?
I mean, back then, like, here again, you learn things as you get older, but, I met him in a club and he kept wanting me to dance and, bought me a couple drinks and then, it kind of went from there.
What do you say? Get on the dance floor. I'm going to buy you a drink. We're going to get married tomorrow.
Well, I don't think I saw that. I don't think I saw that side of things until later, in the relationship.
Okay.
But early on, here again, looking back at the situation, there were different red flags that I saw that I probably should have run away from.
What was some of the red flags you remember now?
That he would, even though I thought we were like in an exclusive relationship, he would go out with, other women. He would always have other women like coming over and banging on the door. He always had a story for it, always had an excuse for it. That, oh, no, you're the one I want. I don't want them. I don't know why they're here.
Other women would come to your door while you was, this was
at his place, but yes.
Okay. Keep going. I'm listening to this norm.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it was the way that he would talk to me and just the things that he would say. And it was that, like always convincing me that they meant nothing to him and he didn't know why they were there, why they were banging on the door, that, that they would go away if he just ignored them. How
did you function in that relationship? This is not your husband.
Yeah, this was my...
How did you wind up marrying him then?
I don't even remember.
Now that you look back, were the red flags there prior to you getting married?
Yes.
And you still went through with it?
And I still went through and married him because...
And you have children as well?
Oh, I had one son, yes.
When did you start getting... When did the light bulb go off in your head that, something just, this is my mom and this isn't norm?
It probably about 10 years into the marriage, it took that long. And because there was always a story for every situation, or, it turned around that the manipulation got so bad that he would make what we call gaslighting now. It wasn't called that back then.
What was it called back then?
I don't know if it had a name to it. But that, let's say I remember one incident where I found a movie stub in his pocket, and it was a movie that we had gone to see together. And I'm like, what is this movie stub? And he turned it around that I had planted that in his pocket, and that to try and make him look bad, and that I needed to stop doing that.
And you believe that you did it?
Actually, yeah.
You believe that you put the stub in his pocket? What's that called again?
Gaslighting, yes.
So gaslighting is making you believe that you did something
that you really didn't do.
How in the hell can you sit there knowing you didn't put a movie ticket in his pocket and he convinced you that you did?
Yeah, because the brainwashing gets so bad. Like, when you hear the same thing over and over again, and that's the norm, that's not the norm, but that's my norm that I was grown up with, then it sticks with me, and I just always felt that I was never right, that I was always,
Give me another gaslight that he did. 10 years, there had to be a lot of fireworks going off.
There was one of the times when I caught him, in an affair, and this is long before cell phones. Obviously, we still had, house phones, and I think we had answering machines, but not like some of the stuff. Caller ID was just starting to become a thing.
Oh God, I remember that.
Yeah. And so like she would call the house and I would answer the phone and she would hang up.
So you start 6'9".
Yeah. And
the younger viewers won't know what that is.
Yeah. And so I'd be like, why does this person keep calling and hanging up? Or, I'm kind of lost in my thoughts here, but no, it was just always, oh, well, you're just imagining things. Like that never happened. No, you're making that up. It's a lie. It's a story. Wow. Like nobody called and hung up on you.
When did it get really to the point that enough is enough?
Well, it had started to get that way after about 10 years. And then I found out I was pregnant with our son. And so then I ended up sticking out another 6 years because by this point, he always used my son as a manipulation tactic. So
what do you mean by that?
Well, you've got to stay home and take care of the baby. And then he would go off and do whatever he wanted to do. But I was always, you got to stay home and take care of the baby. And then, it's like, well, if you go out with your friends, then we won't be home when you get home. And so you have to stay home or this won't be here anymore.
So you stayed in there an additional 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you stayed there till your son was 6 years old.
Correct.
I take it. What was the straw that made you say, I'm done, I got to take my son? Was your son ever in danger with him? And I guess what I'm trying to say is he was gaslighting you. You start to wake up after 6 more years of being in this relationship, outside of him basically taking and using your son as a carrot.
Yes.
Was your son ever in harm's way with him?
I don't believe he ever was.
Okay, but you felt you were.
Right.
How did you feel you were in danger? Because I'm not a therapist.
Right.
Right. I mean, did he ever come at you with a gun, threaten to verbally, or was it more
it was
verbally with you?
More mental and verbal than it was like violence from like we never had a gun. Okay. That was something we didn't have. I never feared for my safety physically, but here again, looking back on, my recovery and how I've moved forward from all this,
right.
The mental scars are the ones that nobody sees, and they're
right.
also the hardest to overcome.
So what was the final straw that you said, I got to take my son, this isn't the norm, I got to start my recovery?
Correct. Well, when the manipulation turned into screaming, where it was constant screaming all the time, and I just I actually still wasn't going to leave, and I had coworkers who
You wasn't going to leave?
I had coworkers who saw signs of what was happening and what was going on, and they encouraged me to call like an employee assistance program that we had at the employer where I was working at the time. And I can remember scheduling an appointment with a therapist and leaving to go see this therapist, and he's chasing after me, like begging me not to go, because I think he knew that as soon as I started talking to this therapist that they would pull me out of that situation, which is exactly what happened.
So I guess not child services, but more of an adult services.
Correct.
Stepped in and said, this isn't a safe environment for you.
Correct.
Which is actually good, because you probably didn't want child services coming in, because it was more, all the drama was probably more related to you than it was your child.
That is correct.
So when he recognizes you're going to leave, did another gas light go off?
Yes.
Really? What happened?
So here again, like I said, he was, chasing after me, like begging me not to go and stuff. And if anyone's familiar with like drama cycles and, trauma and all that, with domestic violence situations, there's always like a point where everything's like perfect. So, everything you're getting along, everything's fine. And then once they've got you back where you think that everything's stable, then the violence starts to kick in again. And so then that's when all the manipulation happens. That's when all the head games happen, the brainwashing and everything, till it gets so bad and I'm ready to leave, I'm ready to walk out. And all of a sudden, oh, here's this big gift. Here's this piece of jewelry. Here's this appliance that we need for the home. Here's a brand new car. All of these things that, oh, he really does love me. He's giving me all these gifts. And I'm going to stay because of, I want this gift. And then things get better again. And then it starts all over. And it's like a hamster wheel. It just continues to go and it doesn't stop.
When you decide to leave, how do you get your life back on track? What's the three things that was part of your recovery process that you said, I'm going to start now with these particular things to get my life back on track?
So definitely, working with a therapist. Mm-hmm. Although with therapy, therapists tend to, okay, let's understand why you're behaving like you're, right, why things are the way they are. But then they stop. Once they've got to that point, we figured out they stop. And knowing that information can help, but sometimes it doesn't help people to move forward. Right. And so I did that. I did some leadership workshops where I started to learn more about what a healthy lifestyle was about, what a healthy environment was about. And then I took everything from there and started doing a lot of my own research. And, I took book recommendations from these workshops and programs and just really started to focus. And, I did a lot of research. I learned to start asking questions. Mm-hmm. Somebody had something that was different from me, like a different religion or a different, way of being. Then I would start to ask questions and understand and start to learn from that and learn that, there's choices out there. I get to make choices. I get to decide how I want to live my life and how I want to be.
How does that make you feel now, knowing that it took over 16 years for you to realize that there are choices in the world that you could have had, and nobody can go back and change the hands of time? I mean, we all say we wish we could, but unfortunately, we live in a world where mistakes, trials, and tribulations are going to be there in front of you. You won't see them, but you got to figure out how to either go under, go over, or do something to get over it. What was the one most valuable thing that you take away from all of this?
The biggest thing that I take away from all this is that empowerment, that knowing that I get to choose what's right for me. Mm-hmm. And I get to be the person that I want to be. And I get to wake up every morning and feel good and feel excited about tackling the day because I am doing something that I love, and, being around people that empower me and support me and lift me up. And that's the best feeling that anybody can have.
Now I'm going to go down the rabbit hole for a minute, give you the blue pill. You mentioned, you mentioned you have a son and you have a father, his father. We recognize, you've recognized his role in the relationship. You recognize your part in the relationship. And I know this is probably a question that most people would ask. You address the situation on your end. How do you keep a close connection without getting relit to sustain a good, healthy relationship with your son and his father, who I'm pretty sure hasn't addressed his situation as well, but you're still a mom and you've only left 6 years ago. How do you keep that together?
Actually, I left 18 years ago.
Okay.
So, no, I have an amazing relationship with my son. And he's grown up to be a very amazing young man. I think that I had more of an influence on him than I believed I did. As he was growing up. I have not seen or talked to his father since he graduated from high school. And that doesn't bother me. I'm more, I don't have any.
Do you think he knows, your son kind of knows what went on in the house, the gaslighting, or is he getting two stories, the father's story and your story, and then he has to kind of like decipher what really transpired?
Yeah, I mean, here again, he was 6 when we got divorced, and so he doesn't, I think a lot of that he didn't understand or he didn't see. A lot of the manipulation after we got divorced that was still happening, here again, was never in front of him. I don't think he ever knew anything about it.
So you guys didn't have a problem with co-parenting?
No.
Just you two together. What he was more controlling over you and your than he was the son. So the co-parenting was pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you now have your own business? You're a life coach, and I think the best life coaches are those that have experience. If somebody's going to coach me or something, they better have gone through the fire, or should we say through the fire, and came out, somewhat smelling like roses, which you have. And my hats off to you. I appreciate you taking the time to come here and share this beautiful story and share it with the viewers as well.
Thank you.
But now you have your own business. Tell me a little bit about that and why you feel the need for this.
Okay. Well, one of the things, and I kind of mentioned it a little bit ago, you go see a therapist to kind of, you're in, a trauma situation or in a lot of drama, and you go to a therapist, and the therapist will look back and they'll say, okay, yeah, this is your past and this is why it happened, or this is why you're behaving this way. And then they stop. And then you're stuck. And this is, that feeling of being stuck is like, okay, why am I here? And, that there's a life outside of there, but you don't know how to get there. And because I'm a very self-motivated person. Not everybody is, but I was able, to look out for programs and workshops that I thought would help me or that I could learn and grow from, and, read the recommended books and such. But not everybody does that. And so, my role here now is to move past the therapist and help you move forward. It can be goal setting. It can be, even what direction to go to. I know currently I have a client that's going into retirement. And so it's how do we gather everything that we need to put together in order, to have a good retirement and not just quit working and do nothing but sit around the house all day, and how do we move past that, and how do we make this fun and make this exciting? And that's what this is all about. It's all about empowering others, because I feel like I have this gift that I'm there to help others, and this is my way of giving that back.
How can the viewers reach out to you?
Sure. The best way to reach me is through my email. It is staci.wells@sbcglobal.net.
I like the fact that you touched on something I think a lot of people probably are unaware of or maybe haven't experienced, but the first usually order of operations in something like this, domestic, verbal, whatever it may be, is to go to to therapy. But you shedded a light on something. They don't have all the resources.
Correct.
You got to really have that empowerment to some degree. Was your therapist helpful in recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses that helped you to go and start this business of helping others?
No, I think what my therapist did was help me understand like how the drama cycle works, how like where the trauma originally stemmed from,
Right.
but not really how to move forward and how to overcome it or
Right.
fix it. And I know some of these leadership programs and workshops that I took is where I started learning about strengths and weaknesses. I can remember one of them I took, and like within the first couple weeks, that I was in in these classes, they were like, okay, we want your 3-month, your 6-month, your 1 year, and your 5-year goals. And I look at them and I go, what's a goal? Like I had no idea what direction or what I really wanted to do with my life. And from that, I can, now I constantly have goals. Once I achieve my goals, I set new goals. I reach out further. I just continue to work on that and continue to grow those.
Before we wrap up, I have another question. You deal with reshaping people's mindset through trauma. Does your program combine the teachings of a therapist as well to make sure all areas are covered? How important is that?
I think it's extremely important to understand why you currently have the feelings that you have. And it's not necessarily digging back and reliving like events that happen, but understanding, the choices or why someone allowed for these things to happen, and how to, if it's not something you're happy with, how do we adjust that and get out of that so that we can move forward?
How many people have you witnessed that leave these situations, men and women, because domestics happens on both sides?
Exactly.
But that's something I never heard, is somebody coming out and not having any goals. Because I guess the goal at that time was to stay married.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And if someone's, telling you how to behave and what to do, you just assume that they've got all that stuff taken care of. Like you don't have to set those
Basically
goals.
coming out of that, the goal now becomes a fear factor.
Yeah.
Which could basically stimulate more trauma in an already traumatic situation for an individual. And you have a program and your abilities to help people take these steps one step at a time, because that's pretty much what it boils down to, getting to those goals.
Right, exactly. And it's at the client's pace too. It's not something that, I want to rush. It's not something that has to be done in a certain amount of time. It's what works best for the client, and how their understanding of things, and when they're ready to release those fears that are, hidden inside, and ready to let go and want to understand what the next steps are and how to move forward with that.
Leave the viewers with something that is that beast frame of mind that gets you up. You definitely have overcome a lot. I'm proud of you. Definitely playing that beast mindset to the public, helping them out, being a resource for individuals. Leave the viewers with something that keeps you going every day.
Well, one of the things that keeps me going every day now is just wanting to be available to help others, and knowing that every day I'm able to help someone, whether it's to see something from a different perspective, or, to have those deep, intense conversations where, someone kind of goes, oh, aha, or I never thought about that, or, oh, that's something that I can use to build my business, grow my business, move forward in my career. move forward in a relationship, get out of a bad relationship, but just kind of understanding what's going on and how they feel from that situation. And it just brings a lot of joy to me to be able to help others that way.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode. Staci, thank you for coming on the show. Make sure you guys reach out to her. She is a resource for individuals that are going through something or trying to come out. Everything that goes through her is confidential, so you don't have to worry about your business being out there. Help is out there for individuals that need it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show.